The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary-related entertainment.
Aloha and good morning. This is Clint Hansen with Maui Luxury Real Estate. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday drive. Today we're broadcasting on KAOI Radio Group, 1110 AM, 96.7 FM, 98.7 FM, and our friends on the west side at 95.5 FM. I was actually just out on the west side the other day, looking forward to a new listing, so stay tuned. We're going through this whole process of staging and getting it ready, and I'm going to be releasing a video about how we're really able to kind of benefit our new listings coming onto the market and how to best maximize the sale, and more importantly, for a lot of people, reduce those days on market. Not to say that the days on market have been particularly long. We continue to see increased sales prices and reductions of days on the market. The change in the median price in the October statistics that just got released by the Realtor Association of Maui is up 14.5%. But the funny thing is, you might think it might be a little gloom because you would see the number of actual home sales have dropped 12.3%. Funny thing is it's a lack of inventory coming on that's really pushing down the number of sales, which is exactly why you're seeing that median sales price increase. So it tends to be a good market, and the condo market's even hotter. So for new listings in general, there's been an 8% increase, 8.7 that is. Pending sales have increased 7.9%, and closed sales have increased 18.2%. So that's a small percentage decline, though, of 2.1%. Those average sale prices, again, are going up a lot. So if you're looking to maximize your value and investment, maybe it's time for you to transfer your investment to another property, upgrade, or anything along those lines, you're starting to see those lower priced properties push up against the median. So it's a really good opportunity and time if somebody's looking to trade up. Maybe they want an additional bedroom, or maybe they want some more square footage, a different location. This is a really good opportunity to do that. Or perhaps you're just looking to pull your money out of the investment pool and put it into something into the mainland. Regardless, this is the holiday season. We're going to need a little bit more money to get by, and there are people who need your help as well. I'm here today with Bob and Donna Hansen. That's my mommy and daddy. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So I've had my license 19 years now, got my brokers. My mom has had your license how many decades?
You're so cruel. Over 4 decades. 40
years, my goodness. And Dad, you young whippersnapper, how many years have you?
Only 30. I'm very young.
Oh, good. Sweet child. So, Bob's been one of the number one sales agents in Maui more often than any other agent. You were number one sales 4 times, right?
Yep.
Wow. And of course, we have both been the top 100 agents on the island multiple times, the only family team to do that. And one of the ways we like to get back every year, we work as a team together, and my mom pushes and drives us and always tells us it's not about the money we make, it's about what we do and how we give to the community. We're actually preparing for our toy drive this year. Mom, tell us all about it. Friends of the Children's Justice Center.
Well, we actually started our office early this year, and because Thanksgiving is just a few days away from the beginning of December, so Christmas is really close. And
what was the sign I showed you in that store?
17
Thanksgiving
days.
Is 17 days away.
No.
Yes. And so
terrifying.
So we have our toy box at the office. Mm-hmm. We also, just this weekend, drove over to a client's property and picked up a bunch of presents for the children and then brought them back to the office and put them in the toy box. So It's all starting. We're very excited. I hope it'll be a really good year for our children in the Justice Center that really need the love and care, and to let themselves be told that they are cared and loved.
And of course, as usual, the toys that we collect and the money we collect and the gift certificates that we collect are just for Maui County children alone.
Yes.
And that's really important. A lot of people don't realize that if you're doing a Toys for Tots, not that they're a bad program or anything like that, but if you want to be benefiting the local people of Maui, we highly recommend you work with Friends of the Children's Justice Center, because it specifically benefits Maui children. And if you go for Toys for Tots, more often than not, they're loading it in and shipping it over to Oahu to benefit the children over there, because, bless their hearts, the Marines are the ones that came up with the Toys for Tots. So typically more of their bases and, connections are based off of Oahu, where the main military bases are. So if you want to give, Toys for Tots is wonderful, but if you're looking to help out Maui kids, Friends of the Children's Justice Center is the way to go. I mean, they don't just do toy drives. I mean, Toys for Tots is specific, but when people reach out to Friends of the Children's Justice Center, it helps abused and neglected kids of Maui. And they're usually the first person that the police call if they have a domestic dispute or a situation in which they have to put a kid in a family situation, like an auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa. They can't drop the kids off unless there's a fresh change of clothes, a bed, sheets, food, backpack with some basic supplies. So Justice Center, Friends of the Children's Justice Center has all that laid out. So they don't have to have government red tape. They are a nonprofit 501c3. They show up, they have all the gear, they're there for a moment's notice, and they do huge outreach to children in these situations to, help prevent that reciprocating cycle of, abuse and neglect. I mean, it's these kids, when they go into the program, know that they are loved and watched after and taken care of, and it really prevents, a lot of those slippery slopes, as children grow and become parents of themselves.
Yeah, we have been supporting the Friends of the Children's Justice Center for 20 years,
at least.
Something like that.
At least, yeah.
And about maybe 10 years ago, we had the opportunity to meet some of the graduates from the Friends of the Children's Justice Center program, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are awesome. I mean, they want to help the Friends of the Children's Justice Center. They're volunteers,
Yeah.
and they're just upstanding citizens, and it's just really heartwarming to see them do that.
I just want to point out one thing that I think is really important for everyone to understand is when the Children's Justice Center is sent in to take the child is frightened, no matter what age. Additionally, these children believe that the reason that they're being taken away is because it's their fault. It's their fault if they've been beaten by their parents. It's their fault if they've been sexually abused. That's part of the psychology behind the CJC, is that they come in to make those children feel like they're loved, they're cared for, and they're going to be taken care of. And that's extremely important, and it's not their fault. It's hard. It's very difficult for these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the CJC has turned these children's lives around. It is fantastic to see the successes that they have been able to complete.
Yeah, and my daughters, they go to school upcountry at Cardin Academy, and I was explaining to them the importance of the Friends of the Children's Justice Center, and usually they do their toy drive, and I hadn't even told my mom and dad, so I'm telling everybody on the radio. So when I was talking to them, discussing the benefits associated with working with a local community as opposed to, Toys for Tots, they didn't know that those toys don't really benefit Maui kids. So I actually am getting their toys and everything. So we're going to have additional pull-in. So any programs that you guys are looking to donate, this isn't something that, you just have to do individually or go, while we are most definitely a drop-off at our office, which is at 161 Wailea EK, Suite A106. A106. Okay, all right. I guess I know my address.
Bank of Hawaii is also, they contribute a great deal to the branches. Yeah.
And that was your urging, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't you bug them a little bit?
No.
Joan. And Bank of
I'm-
Hawaii, they collect toys and they bring them to us.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
For distribution.
And
Awesome.
if anybody's looking to do that, if they need a distribution point, our office again is at the Wailea Town Center, 161 Wailea EK, Suite A106. That's right next to Mateo's, largest wine selection by the glass in the state of Hawaii. So, make sure you cheers yourself afterwards. Go over there.
And as we were discussing earlier, Mateo's, it's not a good place to eat if you're on a diet.
Who eats out if they're on a diet? So, I was actually wanting to have Paul come in here and kind of discuss things, but especially during this time of year, there's a lot going on with everybody's schedule, and we're actually prepping for our toy drive. That's one of our big pulls. So far, we've had, $250,000 in donations or something like that? What was it?
I don't.
And gift certificates and things
And things like that, right?
So, and this is over the decades, and it's not just about bringing toys. And sometimes finding the time to go out and deliver those toys is very difficult. So, every dollar that you put in is multiplied. There's lots of programs that have matching gifts associated with it. So the best thing you can do is certainly give cash, but it's so fun to go out there and get a toy and think that this is going to be given to a child that, needs and wants and is looking forward to a gift.
Don't forget about the older children. They
teenagers.
need love too.
Yeah.
And they love to buy something for themselves. It's hard to pick out for older kids, so they get the gift certificates.
Yep,
and
gift
that makes a
certificates.
difference.
And the Shop with a Cop is my favorite. That's,
absolutely.
Again,
Cop on top.
No, Shop with a Cop.
That's right. Yeah.
So Shop with a Cop is awesome. They partner up with major retailers. I believe it's Walmart this year, and it might be Target. No, I'm pretty sure it's Walmart. They go and have additional outreach to know, officers are not the enemy. That there's somebody that they can go and rely on and feel safe with, and so they use money. And they give money to the officers, and then they have a matching gift again through the retailer to double their spending amount. So they'll go around and they'll shop with the kid, and it's a really fun experience because they get to go shop for their new toy, and it's wonderful to see that connection in the community, because it's those relationships that get formed and bring the community together that prevents strife and difficulty as time goes on.
And it shows the children that they can run to, not away from a police officer. And I think that's really important. They need to know that they can feel secure in most cases.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always, I can't say for sure all the
99%
time.
of the time.
Yeah.
So, and that's important to really instill in the young children the fact that, maybe they have a negative connotation or association with an officer because, that was the person that took them away from mom and dad, and, being in a young age, not realizing, that A, it's not their fault, and B, that these officers are there to help and connect and be a support system. And, that leg of family connection really all connects through Friends of the Children's Justice Center. We love them. We work with them as much as humanly possible. Again, our office is at 161 Wailea Ike, Suite A106. In addition to the listings that we're talking about, there's some other outreach that we do and have done in the past. People want to have a home for Christmas. That's an important thing. And one of the big issues that we deal with on this island is the dramatic lack of affordable housing. There's time and time again where even through the fast track process, communities are, slated to be built even on land designated for workforce housing, and it's a workforce application, and they get shot down. And the problem with that is when you shoot down a fast track process is it basically nullifies the ability to do that again, meaning they're not going to be workforce housing. You have to realize that that having a home on Maui is a dream for everybody, not just the residents, but we need to take care of our local people. There's about a 10,000 home shortfall in Hawaii right now, and there needs to be just about 1,000 homes built a year to maintain. There's already lots and lots of multi-generational houses and no opportunities for them to go anywhere. One of the programs, of course, is Habitat for Humanity, and they're right now building some structures in Lahaina. But as a previous show, we actually also have Nahaleo Maui, which is a community land trust. Bob, you were actually one of the original seed money in that, right?
Yeah, that's right. So John Anderson and myself really got together and started this program.
The Community
Land Trust,
yep.
Which was, it's a program where, there's lots of different avenues to provide for affordable housing. This is just one. We can't be all Maui,
Nahalio Maui.
Nahalio Maui.
Yeah.
Because, you have to have people that, buy fee simple properties. And this is a leasehold, but it's a 99-year lease. It's $10 a year. And then as time goes on, people get more and more percentage investment in the property.
A shared interest in the
nationwide, the land trust model, after 5 years, it's over 70% of those people get into the regular market.
Yep.
Because they are taught how to save money, how to get their credit score up, and they see the light, they own a home, and they actually sell that home back to the community land trust or somebody that's waiting for a home, and they get into the regular market.
Yep.
And so it just brings everybody else up economically.
And that's essential. I mean, one of the things that that's so fantastic about Nahalio Maui is, it teaches people, but when you have a share in ownership and you're paying into something, you're saving for the future. So many times, I mean, it's really unfortunate when you're paying your rent, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're going into their savings and long-term interest. And owning your own piece of paradise means that when you're making those payments, whether to be, Nahalio Maui and the shared ownership, it's also saving for the future, of a home. As Bob mentioned, almost 70% of them are trading into the normal market out of this affordability. So it is one of those essential programs. It's not the only thing. What Habitat for Humanity does is really good, but the biggest thing that we need is an increase in supply. It's important that you talk to your representatives and know what's going on, and when these things come out, show up in support for these developments. I mean, most people just don't want anything ever built, and then they complain about the fact that there's nothing available that's affordable. And it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are people that come into Maui and they're purchasing real estate here, but by and large, a lot of those people, while you might see a tax code from somebody that's not in Hawaii, that's usually because their holding or their trust or wherever is in the mainland or where they pay their taxes is. So, most of the homes out here have, local people that own and live here or have a second home. But it's essential that, when you see this, that you are focused on that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I got very little sleep last night. Our dog is not feeling very well. I'm just completely spacey. I've been up all night taking him in and out. But it's important to know that the supply is one of our big issues. And we need to focus on that fact. And if there's no way that we're even going to be building 1,000 homes a year, let alone make that shortfall of 10,000. So please come out and support a lot of these.
Yeah, and as Clint says, you talk to your council person and just tell them we need more affordable housing. And when it comes up for a vote for the affordable housing, please tell them to pass it. And so many times they turn it down because the people in their neighborhood say, well, not in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And that goes for all kinds of things, windmills and homes and things of that nature. Not in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But, we need the homes. We need for the people who live on Maui, workforce housing, all the local people, they need to live somewhere, and they can't just have 5 families in one house. It's just not right.
And, there are things that are getting approved on the west side, but that is where the largest shortfall is. They need to, work on this workforce housing and have the opportunity for people who work over there to actually live there. Because we have people commuting from upcountry, central Maui, Kihei, and they're going over there because, that's about where 65, 70% of the tourists are, and that's where those hotel jobs are. So they got to commute over there, and that's why you see that traffic start building and building and building right around 3:30, 4 o'clock. A lot of people get upset with traffic flow, and there's a lot of ways that we can resolve that. But the main way is to reduce the flow of people having to commute. If people can live and work, and we offer these, workforce housing to people that are already over there, it's going to be one of the biggest things. Just a small 1% change in the amount of traffic that's flowing through dramatically affects how much gridlock that there is.
When you mention the council, I think it's really important to talk to your council people that represent you, and what's really, really important is watch what they do, because if you have a lot of people saying, look, you've got to go for this, and the council member is not responding, remember that when you go to vote. You want to vote for people that represent Maui County's population, and that they do what they say, not follow the directions of the people that they represent. So it's really important to keep note on that. And when voting comes up, please go vote for Maui County's better life.
Yeah. And if you look at the statistics, inventory just keeps dropping. And it's simply because there's no availability. We went down 18.3% so far just this month comparatively to last. So that shortfall is growing, and people don't like the idea of higher density. But at the end of the day, that's really the solution: is building more homes in a tighter area at a more affordable rate, and build these communities up where people can live and work in the same place. And
Can I jump in here and say that it's also sad? I mean, just in the last week, I've known 2 people that actually moved out of Maui to go to Las Vegas just because of this problem. Yeah. It's not, of course, it's not just housing, but there's more money to be made in some places,
or at least the same
for the working class people, and opportunities. And I don't think there's anything sadder than seeing local people having to leave because they can't afford to have a house.
And there's more Native Hawaiians actually in Vegas than there are in Hawaii, which is kind of a scary statistic.
Yeah.
And, they're noticing that the average lifespan of Native Hawaiians is actually increased. There's a larger or a longer number of healthy years that they're living over there. And a lot of that is the stress associated with, making it in, a day-to-day living and having a high cost of living. So that's part of the reason that you're seeing a lot of these people, move to the mainland, is there's just more opportunities out there. I mean, it's great in the sense of if you're here and you buy and you get into one of these home projects, these developments where there's a lot of demand out there, you can hold on to the property for usually 10 years is what the allotment is. Sometimes it's lower, like 5 or 8, but normally it's about 10 years you can hold on to these properties, and then you're selling it at market rate. When you sell it at market rate, that's fantastic. You've built up savings. You have the opportunity to make more lateral moves. Whether you make that decision to move to the mainland is probably going to be more reserved for when you're, in your golden years and, you want to be using that equity built. But it is a plus of starting at the top of the value regiment.
Do the real estate people on Maui try to have a conversation with the council people about the importance of when this comes? Because this is usually, the last year, right? There's been turndowns of a couple projects, I believe, right?
Yes, that's right. In fact, I was just at a council meeting this last a few days ago, and they were talking about changing the tax structure to
every year.
Well, one of the crazy things that they were talking about, which they removed from the tax structure, was that they were going to tax every property at its highest and best use. So if you're in an apartment zone and you rented your property at long term, 6 months or more, they were going to tax that property as if it were a vacation rental.
Oh, you mean if it was hotel zone, right?
No, apartment zone built before 1989.
Oh my gosh,
wow.
that's ridiculous.
The Minatoyan opinion
Codification,
years ago. And they were really seriously discussing that.
Why?
And
do you know why?
Because they want more money.
Yeah, they're trying to pull in more revenues. The idea, they fail to see the fact that if you're going to be doing this, and it actually makes my blood boil, because there are, even in vacation rentable condo complexes, there is people that live there long term that own their unit. There's also people that rent long term.
Yeah.
And if you're going to double the effective tax rate of a place, the people who own there are going to have no option to either A, sell their place, or B, rent it at, vacation rentable rates so they can make that money to pay the difference in the tax. It's going to reduce the amount of inventory available. It's going to push those people who are already living in those places to go into other locations that are not vacation rentable, reduce the supply, increase the costs, and it's one of the most easy things to realize it's a bad idea, but almost every single year it gets brought up to change the tax structure that way. I'm absolutely astonished that we, as a community of realtors, have to come together and explain that this is a bad idea.
And it's amazing that I was the only realtor in that room. Only 6 people testified, and that was it.
Wow.
But to the council's credit, they removed that
Good.
from the program.
Well,
but
thank God. But if you hadn't been there to explain it, and again,
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're also doing another thing, which I'm a little confused about, is they're going to tier the taxes. So you get up to, I don't know what the number is going to be, but if you have a property that's worth $500,000, you're taxed at one rate. And if you have a property that's worth $1.5 million or $2 million, you're taxed at another rate, which is going to be higher, and then above that. So 3 tiers they're talking about. So I've got to do a little bit more research on that, but that's not right. You're already paying more tax on a $3 million property than you are on a $500,000 property.
So it sounds like there's not. It sounds like it's always easy to think there's a quick fix, and unfortunately, people don't have time to always look at the details. I don't know if that's the case or not, but quick fixes aren't always the ones work out the way people think they work out, and unfortunately, we generalize things enough where people want it to sound good with a quick fix, and they don't look deep and see the consequences of those quick fixes.
Well, I think one of the most important things, and something that we experienced before with a different group of council members and a different governor, is they closed a lot of they started really hurting people who were in the business of renting out their homes. And when they decreased the availability of that, I know North Shore specifically really suffered, because we used to have tons of different, Ho'okipa used to have a lot more exciting events and things, and people would rent the windsurfers. And windsurfers have quite a bit of money usually, because they can pop all over the world, and Maui was one of their favorite places.
Oh, for destinations.
Right. So
Kite Beach and all
the
that.
Maids, the gardeners, all of the suppliers, they all lost a ton of money, lost their homes when they were employed, and it really was heartbreaking and very frustrating. And I have concerns that what we're seeing going on now is very close to what it was before. But I think it's important to go back to what we need to do as individuals for children and that are, either homeless. Some of these kids are homeless, and it's not their parents' fault. They just can't, they just can't make ends meet. And a lot of them are hungry, and so I just want to bring up, there's St. Teresa's that feeds people every night. There's you can donate to Feed My Sheep. You can donate to the Maui Food Bank. There are quite a few places around that do help with food for people that are in need. So I just want to mention that, because I think that's really important. It's not just about food and toys and that. I mean, all of those things play into making Maui County families and children especially, which are our future, better.
Yeah, and another one that's a fantastic thing, again, getting back to housing for those less fortunate, homeless and whatnot, the Kahale Ke'ola, the Homeless Resource Center here
Yes.
on Island, they actually, through the Kihei Community Association in partnership, have created mobile showers, which is fantastic. And, you know, it's not only is it an opportunity for people to get clean and have laundry and feel more like a dignified individual, but it's also a way for them to connect to people to offer additional resources, because a lot of the homeless people that are out there are really incapable of, you know, asking for help or hesitant to do that. So having these outreach programs like Cup of Cold Water and the mobile shower system is essential to create more connections between the homeless people. And it's great, you know, and one of the things that I'm advocating for in a lot of the meetings, which currently doesn't exist, is a central parking location for people to go to for a relatively nominal costs. I mean, right now on Island, there's a great number of homeless people that are living out of their cars. When people think of homeless, they think of the person walking the street. You know, that poor unfortunate man that, you know, has the plastic bags and suffers from mental illness, and he's on his journey as Jesus, and, you know, he doesn't want anybody's help. So if you try to give him money or shoes or anything, he'll avoid you. But you know, you can literally take a bite out of a sandwich, you put it in the trash, and he goes down Lapoa every single day at about 4:30. He'll go into the same trash can. He'll get what's in there. It's kind of funny. Well, it's very unfortunate, but it's very unique that they have these individual problems, and this is a great opportunity for people to connect to the homeless people and give them those additional options for housing and employment and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that's really underserved is those homeless people in their vehicles. There's so many times that people, you know, for one reason or another, have to leave their apartment. You know, maybe they have an animal that's very close to them and they can't find a place to that's accepting of a pet, which is a very difficult thing here on Maui, and they're not willing to give up their kid, basically. You know, it's like a fur baby, as everybody says. Or, you know, many times, you know, people have their deposit in, or they get injured on the job, so they have a break in their income. Sometimes they have a bad roommate situation where there's stealing or abuse involved, and they need to leave immediately. Finding a place here is very difficult, and there's a very, very, very fine line between, you know, the temporary to the habitual homeless. And having a safe community where people can go and park their cars, that, you know, has resources there, that has showers and, you know, central toilets, so that, you know, you're not defecating in woods or anything like that. If you go behind the airport in the evening, there's like 100+ vehicles of homeless people parking back there, and the police, they can't tell them to go somewhere else. Where are they going to go? There's no opportunities out there for there to find a place to park. And, you know, the 90+% of them are just looking for a safe place to hang their head and sleep with both eyes closed, and there's nothing like that available. So one of the things that I'm going to be advocating for is to have a central parking location for people to go, you know, have those showers, so that these...
Would there be security available? Would there be possible to have security in those areas to protect the people who are...
I would imagine there's going to be policies associated. You know, it's going to probably be semi-dry, you know, where there's not lots of drinking or drugs associated with it, so people with family can be, you know, taken care of. There's
I like the idea, and
Yeah.
if you could have security so the people who are just trying to do that versus people who might be not quite feeling safe there, if you had security as well posted, I think it's a very good idea.
Absolutely.
If it was a safe place where people could go, because it is a huge problem. They're seeing in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think the average medium home, there's $1,300,000
Wow.
now. And so what's happening? They're seeing people in the streets more than ever before. The homeless population in San Francisco
Washington,
has gone,
too.
and Washington as well.
We were up there at a friend's wedding, and when we were talking with them, she actually works for a local news station there, and she interviewed over 100 different homeless people, and she said, no, the large majority of them just realized it was so much easier to live out of a tent community and have the ability to save a little bit money. Everybody looks out for each other, and they can operate as usually you wouldn't think this, but they've got their laptops, they're graphic designers, they go to work on their bike, they're still showing up, but there's just no opportunity for affordable homes. And unless Maui continues to invest in increasing their infrastructure to help these people connect to affordable homes like Nahaleo Maui or the
and they're full. There's also, I
Kahala.
think, a waiting list, isn't there, to even get in there?
Huge waiting list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have the mentally ill that
Yes.
that are homeless and
that's
wandering.
a whole other issue.
That's something that it would be good to get some people on. That could maybe offer some kind of suggestions, and it's a charity that I really kind of want to be involved in.
You were on the mental health board in the past.
The county and state.
Yeah.
I saw where they spent their money in Oahu.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
hard.
very important to understand. That's one of our biggest problems is that the
Limited resources, and
Yeah.
we're last on the list.
I think that, as I'm hearing you talk, I mean, there's such an amazingly intelligent, caring group in the in real estate
Oh yeah.
that understand these figures more than maybe people in office in politics.
Well, even some of the realtors themselves that have worked on the board, which, I'm not going to say their names, but, they've been homeless themselves at one time or another. And, people with mental illness, a lot of them is because they're incapable of getting the treatment that they need when they are in those, critical situations. And that's one of the reasons that the temporary homeless is a fine line between the habitually homeless. Because, a lot of times people are feeling down on themselves and they're self-medicating, and that's helping trigger their emotional distress or their mental illnesses that come to the surface. And a lot of people have a negative connotation associated with mental illness, and the fact is it's very common. It's very, very common.
One
and it's
in five. It's 1 in 5.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, people
it's true.
need resources, and the community has been slowly falling apart since the 80s because of the lack of available funding to help these individuals.
Right, when they cut it back. I wish every day could be Thanksgiving.
Me too.
I mean,
too.
at Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
you see everyone getting together and feeding the
Yeah.
people, and everyone wants to do this, but that's just one day a week, folks. So it's got to go beyond that. And I guess real estate people have to be like you and be their own lobby to try to help understand this. I just have a quick question. Do you see people building bigger homes, knowing that they can put 4 families in there, and trying to think that that's the way that they'll make an income to pay their mortgage? Or
There's
I've
definitely
seen it driving down, the street of Papa and Lono Avenue. You see these huge homes that they're
awesome.
building,
For their
I love them.
and
family.
they have 3 or 4 families living in these homes.
Yeah.
Relatives.
The biggest issue with those larger homes is parking.
That's
with
true, yeah.
But I love it. I've got friends that live in these communal houses. There's a few of them that are rentals as well, but most times I see them that it's like a family affair. I actually am in escrow right now. I'm representing the seller on a home in Kihei that has a lot of different living spaces in it, and on that same street, there's other homes that have been built, wall to corner of the property, and it's almost entirely living space, and they've got 3, 4, 5 generations of family in it. And it's the funny thing is people think, oh man, that's a bummer, and but I got to tell you, I've never felt so safe. It's nice. Everybody's looking out for each other. They're very communal. They're giving each other bananas and their roast pork. And I mean, every time I go there, it's like hellos and hugs and stuff. So I really like it, and it's good to see the opportunities out there for people to live together. But everybody wants and has a dream of a white picket fence, where they're able to have their animal, that to have their own space and grow and build their own future and save simultaneously.
But and I know that there's the amount of people that are able to do that on Maui and in San Francisco and maybe Washington D.C. In Washington, it's getting smaller and smaller, and the American dream's changed, and it's unfortunate. But I think we have to really wake up to the fact that that was a dream that was another lifetime,
There's less.
a past generation, and that American dream God bless the people who can actually make that happen. You know how hard, you've seen how hard they have to work to make that happen, right?
Oh, yeah.
Generation, not X, but the millennial generation is actually the first generation that you're starting to see average life expectancy drop.
What?
And it's almost completely
Really?
it's attributed to the additional stresses associated with, not having financial stability in their life.
I had never heard that.
Yeah,
That's
and
shocking.
there's less opportunities out there. This is not an American problem alone either. A UK study just came out, and they were noticing that the bottom end of the age spectrum, were getting on average 120,000 pounds less a year in social benefit, and they were paying more into taxes than the higher end. So it's, part of it is that the youth has really been sold a bad stick. I mean, they're
and I'm a baby boomer,
fight.
and you guys are baby boomers, and it kind of is a big weight and burden to carry when we think about our legacy and what's going to be left behind, because we all had and we have wonderful intentions. You people are fabulous people who do so much to help. And yet sometimes I feel like, wow, I wish there was more I could do when I see the state of where the world is going, and what's happening with that. And I hear that figure, and go, whoa.
It feels like it's never enough. I mean, if we all do our little part,
Mm-hmm.
we can definitely solve these issues. It's not a question of if we can do it. It's a question of motivation and actually
That's true.
spending the time, making your voice heard, even donating a little bit of money to charities like Friends of the Children's Justice Center go an incredibly long way, because it stops that cycle of abuse and neglect, and people all of a sudden that have grown up in that realize that it's not okay, and what they felt and had to deal with is not all right, and there's an alternative to that.
Well, and I just want to give a shout out to the force behind the Friends of the Children's Justice Center, because, as you mentioned, they do an amazing job, but there's always someone who came up with the idea that that's going to happen and have the determination of that dream.
Yeah.
And I know we hear about it on Susie Tieman's show on Nonprofit Directors, but maybe you can just talk about the actual force behind that and the man working
Paul.
with the children. Yeah.
Well, I don't know him, all that well. All I know is he took over from another fellow that he and Paul just took the torch and just went
ran with it.
further, with it. And his heart is in the right place. He takes, 2, sometimes 3 of the kids himself.
Yeah.
And they live with him and, as foster kids, and sometimes for years they live with him, and those kids they think Paul is the greatest thing.
And you
since
see
sliced bread, and his heart is in the right place.
Absolutely.
Never
really
seen
is.
anybody like that.
And there's a lot of red tape that you have to go through to
Oh,
be
yeah.
established and trusted. And it took a lot of work and years just to be in that position where he was trusted by the police department, by the social services, and recognized for doing the work that he's doing as well.
I'm really impressed by a cup of cold water. A lot of people don't realize that, but if you go up to a homeless person, you're like, hey, you look like you can use some help or something like that. They're usually going to snap at you, because they're like, I'm fine. But if you're like, hey, you want a cup of cold water, and it's a really good way to start a conversation and just get to know them. And it's not about right then connecting them to resources. It's about getting to know them and telling them that, hey, there's opportunities out there, and if time after time you communicate with people, eventually they're going to build a relationship of trust with them, and that's exactly what Friends of the Children's Justice Center do. It's that connection to resources and help
They're
and
changing
family.
lives. They're
And
absolutely
it
changing
stops those
people's
violent
lives.
cycles, and honestly, I've seen Maui. Everybody complains, they're like, "Oh, things are getting so much worse." But honestly, I've been here for 30 years, and I knew what it was like 30 years ago, and the fights that would happen every day in school, and it was not without a few times that I looked over my own shoulder, just feeling uncomfortable. But nowadays, I'm seeing it less and less of an issue. It's certainly much more available to notice with social media. People are much more aware of these things that are happening. But that's the whole point of a community, sharing your stories, getting to know that these problems are out there, and working as a team to solve them. And, Friends of the Children's Justice Center is a phenomenal tool, but there needs to be more. And
How did you find them 20 years ago, and how did you decide to start this?
Well, I had a a
Long
luncheon.
ago.
A female, a bunch of ladies. I invited them to our house at the time. We were up country, and had a luncheon, and said, "Bring one gift. Pick something out that really meant the world to you when you were a child that you actually received or wanted to receive." And each of the women brought something, and then they shared a life story. One of them was from Russia, and she got her brother saved all his money, and then what he ended up doing is he bought her the doll that she had always wanted. It brought tears to her eyes as she shared the story. And I thought, after that one, and we got all the gifts, and I asked a lady at Seabury that I knew, what charity does something with toys? And she told me about Children's Justice Center. And then we went from that point and gave them to them to handle. And then after that, it became a couple's invitation. And then so there were more people that came. And then after that, it was like, wow, if I can get just friends to come and donate and give gifts, then what about more people? And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And now it's really great. And like Clint has a very close friends that are Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, at the front of the ball field.
They're awesome. They're the most wonderful people, and the kids look at them like,
it's Mr.
Mr. Claus, Mrs. Claus. It's just
Paul
fabulous.
met them, and he now Mr. and Mrs. Claus. They're instrumental in handing out the gift to these kids.
Oh my gosh,
and
it's
they
beautiful,
look just like Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
You know what's interesting to me is we just assume everyone's taken care of for Christmas, but we can't even imagine the families of people who don't have the money. And if you have a large family on this island, even 3 kids or 4 kids, and there's people that have 5 kids, and I can't even begin to imagine what it takes for those families to try to have the money to make sure everyone's taken care of, let alone the expenses of the holidays and wanting to have a nice meal, and just knowing that they can actually be provided for, and that some of these children who would not have those gifts on Christmas are provided for. It's such a beautiful, beautiful exchange of energy that I just think it's wonderful that you started this project and kept it going. Because you said over the 20 years, how much money's been donated on top of the gifts?
Hundreds of thousands in both gift certificates and check contributions. So and if you want to give, it's very easy. You can of course make a check out to Friends of the Children's Justice Center, and you can drop it off at either our office in Wailea next to Mateo's. That's the 161 Wailea EK Suite A106, and we got the drop-off box there. You can slip the check right through the little thing, so you're good.
That's the best place.
But there's also Bank
We'll
of Hawaii.
pick it up.
Yeah, we'll pick it up.
We'll pick it up.
Bank of Hawaii
I
will
just
pick it
got
up.
Carden Academy, of course. That's another drop-off location, and then they'll be
And that's
bringing
Upcountry
it to us.
Carden Academy?
Carden Academy. It's right across from King K.
Oh, okay.
And it's a phenomenal school, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've been so impressed and happy with our children going there. Very well-rounded, and I love their programs, and they, again, give back to the community in many ways. And now they're going to be giving to Friends of the Children's Justice Center.
Good.
And we're very happy with Bank of Hawaii. They've been wonderful to offer that opportunity as well.
And also the crisis center, also they gather, their employees gather and give gifts, and their emergency crews and things, and it's wonderful. It makes me happy. And people go, what about this? And I said, it's the best gift I could ever give myself in my entire life, is to think when someone gives me a gift to give to children, that gift is going to bring sparkle and hope to that child. Oh my God, it's the most incredible feeling to know that someone's going to know that they're cared for, and they're never even going to meet that person. It's just it's wonderful.
That's the magic of the holidays and of that special time. And I have to say, I'm really grateful you're keeping it going over the years, and I want to make sure you give us all the information so we can get behind it and promote it too.
And there's another one, as we were talking about homelessness earlier, there's also furry friends that are homeless as well.
You're right.
You can go to the Hawaii Animal Rescue. Those are the people that you see at the Maui Mall. You can often, with their little furry friends, and getting them out there in adoption. It's rehabilitation, it's feeding them, it's training. They have a whole multitude of programs, and they're a no-kill shelter, which is fantastic. So if you're looking to help the four-legged friends of homelessness out here on Maui, they're an awesome opportunity to reach out. And just to get back to what we were talking about with real estate, do we have any new listings that you want to talk about? I mean, we should always push our stuff, right? We're here. It's called Maui Real Estate Radio.
Waiole Beach Holly.
Oh, yeah, that's
Building
right.
D214. It's an incredible one-bedroom, one-bath vacation rental. And they have their back-to-back rental, and it's $549,000.
Yep.
And it's right on the beach, right by the beach. It's got a pool, barbecue. So for an investor, it's a really good
solid rental,
place, yeah.
Beautifully kept grounds. We just made that professional video that's going to be posting on Facebook here shortly and YouTube.
Yep.
And it'd been a few years because we sold a couple of others in there, and I forgot how well they take care of their grounds.
Yeah.
Also, don't you guys have another one? We put 557 cupola out into escrow immediately.
Right.
So
280 offers. Yeah. 285 Ohina just went into escrow, and that was I thought one of the best values out there because it was a pool house. It just started. It's honeymooning right now. We don't know how it'll go, but I think that it should go okay. That's another one. We do have a lot of other things coming up, but
it's amazing, with the reduction in inventory and our new sales strategies for getting our listings out there has really taken off. And normally we'll have anywhere between 36, 40 different listings that we work with in our office, and I think right now we're down to what, 20? Less than 20, yeah. I think. And well, because less than 20, because there's a lot of those that are pending right now.
Oh, that's
true.
If
you go into our office, I mean, you can see our board is just one long line of pending and sold properties. I'm helping a lot of buyers, and a lot of times it's connections, getting to know people, and hey, I'd be interested to sell if you have somebody, but I don't want to put it on the market. So there's a lot of times we're doing outreach with buyers that are specifically looking in an area, sending mailers out there and saying, hey, I have a buyer. If you have an agent that you're working with, give them a call. If you're not, please feel free to give me a call. I'd love to connect you two together. And there's a lot of times, when buyers come to us, that we have to hit the cement. I mean, we're going out there and, looking up old listings, checking the ones that are pending. Hey, is it going to be falling out of escrow? And you can't just idly wait for some listing to come on. You have to be constantly out there and pushing and advocating for your clients. It's really our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they get the house or condo they need or sell, their property.
One of the things that we also do is people, sometimes they'll have parents, they'll live in another state far away, and their parents will succumb to dementia or worse things, and we will go in and we'll take care of getting everything handled, and that's one that was on Ohina that we just did. And the stepson lives all the way East Coast, and it's a good, we had to go through the whole thing, and we do that for people and take care.
And we have about 1 minute left, but I did want to focus in on that a little bit. You guys have put a ton of effort into helping people in those situations and relocating individuals that are suffering from it and getting them the resources that they need, checking in on people. I mean, there's even, been times in the past where, they haven't been getting calls from their family or loved one, and you've gone in to find them, have passed. So it's not just a home, it's lives. Property here on Maui is really about building a life. And thank you for joining us today, this holiday season, on the KAOI radio group, Maui Real Estate Radio. Again, we're on Mondays, 11:10 a.m., 96.7 FM and 98.7 FM and 95.5 FM. Aloha, and have a great day.
Aloha.
Aloha.